All right, interesting topic today. Welcome back to Cooking with Dad. I haven't filmed a video in forever, and I'm not making a cooking video today. This is probably a little bit of therapy or something like that. It's also kind of a message to my kids. As you know, on this channel, I'm recording family recipes, and I need to get back to that in case I croak. We want to make sure we have these recipes and the memories that go with them. Earlier this week, my daughter asked me to make a steak salad that I made when she was a kid. I haven't made it in 10 years. So I think I'll probably make that one soon, and we'll have a video on that. But today's video is titled A Fork in the Road, and what that means is, I believe we're all where we're supposed to be based on the choices we made. We're in the right spot, and sometimes those choices weren't great choices. Sometimes they were. We always assume that the road that we didn't take, or the fork in the road where we went the opposite direction, for a lot of people, myself included, I find myself thinking, if I'd have done this or if I'd have done that, I'd be in a better place. But the reality is, we don't know. We don't know if we'd be in a better spot. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. Completely off topic from Cooking with Dad. I don't know. It just is what it is. I felt the need to make the video. All right, so I don't think that a lot of people that watch my videos know me. My friends know I have YouTube, but if they don't have a car title question or they didn't want to see a recipe, it's just not something that they have time for, and I totally get that. But anyway, so one of the things that always runs in my head is the would've, could've, should've. Did I make the right choice here? Why did I make the wrong choice here? If I'd have done this, I'd have been in a better spot. And I joke I can do that all the way back to third grade. But probably one of the biggest forks in the road that occurred in my life was when I graduated high school and through most of my senior year. My grandmother in Maine literally was begging me to come move into her basement apartment in Maine, and she would pay for me to go to college. And I did not do that. And I'm okay with that. I met my wife. I wanted to be with my wife. She was a Texas girl, and there was no way my Texas girl of 21 years old with a 4-year-old was going to move all the way to Maine and live in a basement apartment. It just was not going to happen. So I had a clear choice. I wanted to be with her. Could have gone to Maine and got a college education for free. I made the right choice. In no way am I saying I didn't. But sometimes you think about, well, if I'd have done this or I'd have done that, where would I be? And I joke about this, but there is truth to it. We always assume that the road we didn't take would have put us in a better spot. But let's just roll this back a little bit, just to use this as an example. I've told my kids that if I went to Maine, they wouldn't exist. And that's true. Let's think about it. So first, let's just say that, 18-year-old Tom moves to Maine. Well, my son, who's not biologically my son, he's my wife's boy. He was 3 or 4 when we got together. So if we never got together, I would not have that relationship with him. And he's a good kid. I am happy to have him, know him, love him, call him son. Just this week we went to the movies together to see Batman. We took him when he was 4 or whatever he was in 1989 when it came out. It came back to the theater, so this time he took us. So it was a good time. So I wouldn't have that relationship, and I would have missed out on so much watching him grow and develop and learn and accomplish things. And then we'll come to the middle daughter and the youngest daughter. Well, I would have probably had kids, but it wouldn't have been them. They wouldn't have been half their moms. Those experiences that they would have had would have been completely different. And let's be honest, if I went to school on the East Coast, I probably would have found a job on the East Coast, and I'd be a Yankee right now. And I don't know that I can handle that. So then what would happen? Well, I'd get a job on the East Coast, most likely. I'd marry some chick from the East Coast, most likely. She'd probably have short hair and not wear a lot of makeup, but that doesn't really do it for me. But, whatever. It would have worked out. So then we'd have had kids. Well, how do we know that the kids we had were normal? I mean, how do we know that we didn't have a child with a birth defect or a child with, juvenile diabetes or juvenile cancer or Down syndrome? We're assuming everything would have been rosy, but we don't know if we would have beat those odds or not. How do we know that when they got through high school, whereas my kids were big into academics and athletics, how do we know that the kids with the new lady wouldn't have got in with the wrong crowd and become drug addicts, stealing from us and making shit choices and ended up working a stripper pole or something? We don't. Instead, the kids I have are college educated and have good, stable jobs and a good life. So we don't know that it would have been any better off. How do we know that I even could have had kids? What happened if I married a woman that we found out couldn't have kids? Would we have been able to adopt? If we were able to adopt, would it have been a good situation, or would it have been somebody's crackhead baby that was born to a mother that was a crackhead that had developmental or mental issues or anger issues? You don't know. And you always think things could be better, but you truly don't know. What if the woman I married ended up having breast cancer and she died at 30 and I had 4 small kids to raise? What if I was driving down the road in the winter on the East Coast and I slid off an icy road into a river and drowned and my life ended at 30 or 35 years old? So that's my point. I think for some people, I'm one of them, if I get in my head too far, that there's a lot of regret. There's a lot of doubting where you're supposed to be, the choices that you made, especially if you feel like things aren't going well in life for you right now. But you don't know. We always assume the road not taken would have been better, but you don't know. And that's the point. So now that I've rambled on for I don't know how long, 10 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever it is, that's my point. Where am I at today? Well, I own 2 businesses. I own a transmission shop, which, I think I've talked about. And I'll tell you, this time last year, I absolutely hated it. I had it up for sale. I'd shut off all the advertising. I was totally disengaged. The revenue was going in the tank, and it was terrible. And I had made a video about this change of heart that I made, which really I equate to prayer. It was in October. No, it was in November. We were supposed to sell it that week. The guy sends me this text message that says, yeah, hey, we couldn't make a deal with the landlord. We're out. Well, that wasn't the reality. The reality was the landlord had already told me that the lease was agreed upon and he was waiting on them to sign it. And then they ended up getting a spot that was, half a mile down the street from me. And that was, I'm sure, a better choice for them. They were going to buy an existing business mainly to get access to my lot. And in this case, they just had to go rent a building. But it worked out for the best. If you saw that video, I'd been literally praying for 6 months for the business to sell. When the guy backed out, I changed the prayer to, okay, if this isn't it, you got to show me. And from that day on, literally I woke up the next day and I felt better. That was a Sunday. I woke up Monday and I was ready to go. So the transmission shop is doing well. All the bills are paid. The taxes are caught up. The payment plan's going on the back taxes. Comptroller's taken care of. I'm drawing a W-2 paycheck. We got with an accountant that really got us lined out and on the right track. I'm making sure to include my wife in our quarterly meetings where she can ask questions and verify our shit's paid. So no real complaints there. As a matter of fact, most of my income so far in 2025 has actually come out of the transmission shop. So, that one was another one that was a series of missteps. I had a guy that wanted to be my partner because he needed my money, so I went in with him on a shop when really I didn't know anything about a shop. And then shortly after, we decided that we didn't want to be partners, and then we argued over who's buying who out, and my dumbass bought him out with no industry experience, and then we had COVID and blah, blah, blah. But all that to say, it is apparently where I'm supposed to be. I have the car lot. I only ever sell 5-6 cars at a time. I'd like to get it up to 10. I have a few investors that have put some money in that are getting a nice return, and they're allowing me to get more cars up. Still haven't quite figured out the flow, if you will, for cars. The shop seems to be just busy enough. My guy has trouble getting to the car lot cars. I have some that he can't work on that I need to get farmed out to other shops to get done. I own 10 or 11 cars right now, but I think there's like 5 out front. So we got to work on that a little bit. And then, my other stream of revenue is YouTube. And I've had good months and bad months, and some of my videos I think I'm making more for me than I am for y'all. If you're still watching, great. But when I think about where you're supposed to be in life, am I where I want to be? No. And now the concerns are not like, oh, I want to be a billionaire or anything like that. Now the concerns are, fix to turn 55, and I need to make sure that I can work as long as possible, and put money away into savings to not be a burden on my kids. And I got to take care of my physical health. I'm trying to lose weight. I weigh 385 pounds this morning. I really need to 285. Really want to get down to about 220. Probably need to start exercising a little bit, get off this handful of meds. But I always say, and sometimes I have to remind myself, we are where we are based on the decisions that we made. And it is what it is. I mean, this is where you're meant to be. God put you here, or let you put yourself here based on your actions. And when I get really down and depressed and worry about that, I have to remind myself, all I can do is say, this is where we are. And where can we go from here? And the answer is up. We can make better choices. We can learn from the mistakes we made. And the more mistakes you've made, the more education you've gotten. So that's the video for today. If you watch this on the other channel, you're probably like, what the hell is this dude talking about? So we'll be doing more filming for that channel. We'll have more car lot content coming soon. Appreciate y'all listening to me pontificate over life. And yeah, it was fun. Hope it was good for you. Thanks for watching.